Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a continuation of this discussion about the early Islamic history and, in particular, the Quran, early Qurans. We titled today's episode, Why Basically 63 Fragments Do Not Comprise a Full Quran. 63 fragments are not a complete Quran. And anyone really with a logical way of processing things should know that, should know better not to take any fragments. I don't care if it was 163 or 1063 fragments. They are fragments. They do not make a whole. And with me here, of course, to process all of this is Dr. J. Smith. Dr. J, what are we talking about, first of all, about the 63 fragments?
Okay, let's back up and give some historical precedent. We were down at Speaker's Corner, Hatu and I, to introduce Dan Brubaker's book in 2019. The day it came out in June of that time, we wanted, or May, I think it was May 22nd, we wanted to introduce the book. I got up on the ladder. Whenever I go down to Speaker's Corner, the Muslims make a beeline for me. And there was Mansour Ahmad, I saw Ali Dawa there, I saw Muhammad Hijab. They were all there in the Muslim crowd, but they weren't coming over to my ladder because they didn't know what to do with this material. And you could see they finally pushed, I think it was Mansour Ahmad. I don't know if he was pushed, but he finally did have to come over to our ladder, stuck his ladder next to me to try to confront me with these. And as he was confronting with me with these manuscript variants, he made a claim. He made the claim, and it's all on film, and he said, listen, Mr. Smith, we don't have to worry about these manuscript variants because we can trace all the way back to Muhammad, the Quran. Verse by verse, every verse we can trace right back to Muhammad. I said, I quickly stopped what I was saying, turned to him and said, you can? Can you tell me what manuscript you're talking about? Can you tell me what Quran you're referring to? What Quran can be traced back to Muhammad? And he stopped and said, okay, Uthman. He didn't mean Muhammad, he meant Uthman, 652. I said, okay, fine. Can you show me where this manuscript is from the time of Uthman? Even one? And then he's paused. He said, well, okay. He was, you could see he didn't know what to say. So I said, okay, let me help you out. How about the 7th century? Can you show me one from the 7th century? That's 699. He says, you're not listening to me. What I did say is in the 1st century of Islam. Well, he just introduced that into the discussion. 1st century of Islam, that's 719. 622 to 719. So that's 8th century. All right, fine. Can you show me a complete Quran by 719? So 3 different steps, I kept backing him up. Got to 719, and he said, I can show you 96. He said about 97% of the Quran. 97% of the Quran? I said, where is it? He said, we have now the 97% of the Quran by 719. What was he talking about? Let's go to the slides and see what he's talking about. See, Mansour Ahmad is in charge, or is one of those responsible for all the manuscript that they have in Islamic Awareness, which is the largest Muslim website that has a repository of all the manuscripts. It's the best one in the world. It's from Cambridge University, and he is the one that is one, not responsible, but one of those responsible for these manuscripts. So he's referring to this graph right here. This is the graph that you'll see there on their website, and it's 63 fragments that he's talking about. This is the 96%. It's not 97%. It's 96% of the Quran that they have been able to find by 719. So within the 1st century of Islam, from 622 to 719, they have found these 63 fragments. Take a look at them. That one up there is the 2165. That is the Ma'il manuscript. It's the biggest of all the fragments.
British Library one.
British Library one. We saw it in a previous episode. It is about 50% of the Quran. So that's the best they've got. And then you start getting on. The one that you're looking at, you can see some of the Dam 129. That is your Sana'a manuscript.
That's right, yeah.
And there's 1, 2, 3 of them that are up here. Look at those. Those are all they're saying before 719. So I wanted to find out if these were correct, because if you look down, you come all the way down to here, and you see at the very bottom, these are just about half a verses or even 1 verse or 2 verses. These are small little fragments. Most of them are fragments. But I wanted to see if this is correct. I'd like to know it. I said, that's fascinating. So I sent my team to go and look at it. Dr. Pat Andrews is the one that did the major part of research on this. And he went through every one of these 63 manuscripts. What we was assuming these were full manuscripts. No, these were just 1 verse here, a little verse there, maybe 3 verses here, maybe half a sentence here, all the way up to the Ma'il, which is the best they've got. This is what he found. When you look at that, 20 of these, see the ones I'm putting up there now, the ones in green arrows? 20 of these are what we would know as tentatively. In other words, we're not really sure. And these are the ones at least the scholars have looked at, and they are tentative. They don't really know for sure if they are before 719 or after, so they're tentative. So they really shouldn't have been using these. And then 9 of them, look at the ones, the blue arrows going up right now, including the Ma'il one, the biggest one, the tallest one at the top. It is after 719. These are all after. They should never even use those 9. And what about the last 34? The last 34, the red arrows that are going up, no one has done any work on. So how is it they're using them?
That's right.
They didn't look to any research. They had nothing to source what they were saying. They had nothing to back up what they were saying. They needed these verses, so they went to this manuscript to get this verse. They went to this fragment to get that verse. They went to this fragment to get these other verses, and they put it all together. They needed these 63 to get 96% of the Quran. They didn't think anybody was going to check them up. They didn't think any of us were actually going to do our own homework. What that means, if you look at it, none of these are really valid. Not one of these are really valid. Because they're either tentative or they are much later or no one's done any work on them. So, since all of them are either later or tentatively dated or have no supporting evidence, let's continue in what we say. What we're noticing is there is no complete Quran even within the 1st century.
That's right.
If they can only come up with 63 fragments to make 96% of the Quran, that's a huge admission right there. And that was brilliant. I love that he did this, because now we can show him. And every time Muslims, I'm talking to you Muslims, every time you start to say that you have 96% of the Quran, I'm going to hammer you on that, because you need to tell us what the dates of those manuscripts are. The Muslims have had to collect 63 fragments of the Quran to find even 96% by 719. Yet almost all of them are tentative or have no supporting evidence for early dates. Some of their dates even go into the 9th and 10th centuries. They have not studied anything. And here's what's interesting. They don't even know whether these 63 fragments actually parallel the Hafs text.
That's true. I mean, you still need to do more studies on that.
Not only that, even the Ma'il, and the Ma'il comes after 719. It is later than the early 8th century, but the vast majority of these are all from the 8th century, the ones that we do know. So, how in the world can they make the claim, and what is missing from all this? I want to know where Uthman's Qur'an is. Remember why I said this at the very beginning?
Right.
Where is our Uthmanic text? Where are those 5 manuscripts that we looked at the very beginning? 63 fragments do not make a Quran. So how did they get the text they use today? Let's look at the next slide. The text that they use today is called the Hafs text. And that was chosen by this character, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Husayni al-Haddad, in 1924, there in Cairo, because they had a dilemma in the high school. The high schools were asking for standardized texts on the Quran, and student after student after student, whenever they asked for this verse or that verse to answer a question, they were giving different verses that didn't have the same meaning. And of course, that caused a dilemma. How can you have standardized tests if people have different answers? So they went to Muhammad al-Husayni to say, could you choose one of these 30 official texts that had been chosen by Ibn Mujahid in 936, had been chosen, 14 had been chosen by al-Shatibi in 1194, and another 6 were chosen by al-Jazari in 1429. That's 15th century, that's 800 years after Muhammad. Muhammad Ali Hussein chose the one that the Ottomans had chosen. So he chose the Hafs text. That was the only reason. He should have chosen one from Medina or Mecca. He forgot to do that. He chose one from Kufa that was written in 796. So that was written in 796 for the schools in Cairo that the dilemma had been eradicated. They now had a text they could use. That became so successful because they took all the other manuscripts that disagreed, they took them out into a boat on the Nile River, and they dumped them into the Nile, thinking that would get rid of the other 29. No, it didn't. Because all over the world, they were using the other 29 in different geographical locations, including the Warsh text, which is used all across North Africa. Right. And that has still been used across North Africa today. About 3% of all Muslims use the Warsh, which has 5,000 differences with the Hafs text. Nonetheless, it became so successful Cairo by using one manuscript, one text, one derivation, the Hafs text, that in 1936 they then made it the official text for all of Egypt, for the whole country of Egypt, and they call it the Farouk edition because that's the year that King Farouk came to power.
That's right.
That became so popular, Al-Fadi, that in 1985, King Fahd who was in power at that time. He'd been in power since 1982, so he'd been in power for 3 years. He saw what was happening in Egypt, and he decided, whoa, wait a minute. We can do the same thing for the whole world. We're the official. We're the ones that control the holy places. We are therefore going to make the Hafs text the official text for the entire world. Why didn't they make the official text the ones that were therefore that we do know that came from Mecca and Medina? And what text are we talking about there? I'm just going to go and show it if I have it here. Let me look for it. Here we go. Look at here. Put the slide up and you'll see. And look at the slide here. Whoops. Let's go back and. I want to go here, and I want to go to this slide. Bring that up. There's the 7 readers. Here's the 14 transmitters, and there are the 6 Qira'ats. Notice they should have used Nafi or Ibn Kathir over on your side, the green ones are, because those are from Mecca and Medina. Why didn't they choose Nafi or Ibn Kathir?
I mean, obviously, I think we talked about it before. It seemed like they were focused more on popularity.
Absolutely. Yeah. It had nothing to do with authority. No one even opened one page to read one word or one sentence. They just chose who was the most popular, and Hafs was the most popular because the Ottomans had chosen him. That's what it comes down to. The book we're using today was chosen in 1987, 37 years ago, which means both you and I are older than the Quran.
Amen to that. Thank you, brother. Thank you, everyone. Till next time, have a blessed day. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel CIRA International and click on the bell so that you receive notifications whenever we publish a new video or go live. I would also like to appeal to you to consider becoming a Patreon patron by clicking the link right below. By doing so, you can give towards the production of these videos. There are also other options for you where you can give to our channel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.